And the other agenda.
Thank you. So we're out of executive session and I would like to report that no actions were taken during executive session. Do we have any?
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
Go to Google.
Oh.
And then stack just this one screen. Here you go.
Thank you. My apologies.
No problem. Do we have any old business to come before the board? With that, we'll adjourn our meeting and just a note that the next IDA meeting will be March 28th at 10 o'clock. We will be meeting in Fredonia, so make sure everybody takes note of that. And we'll be meeting at the incubator there, and of course, it'll be via live stream on YouTube and Zoom as well. Thank you. Now we'll move into CREDC. This time I would like to open with the Board of Directors, the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation meeting. We're at the BWB building, 201 West 3rd Street, Jamestown, New York, also via live stream on YouTube and Zoom. It is 11:20 and we'll open with a roll call vote. Gary Henry is here, Brad Walters,
Here.
Rhonda Johnson,
Here.
Stephen Thorpe,
Here.
Kevin Muldowney,
Here.
Sagan Sheffield Smith,
Here.
Dan Hetzenreiter here. And we'll should have already had the minutes provided ahead of the meeting. And hopefully you had a chance to review those. Do we have a motion to accept the January 24th minutes?
Motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. And we'll move right into new business 3A.
Nate's gonna jump on these two resolutions. So Nate, why don't you take it away?
Will do, Mark. So, you've seen, for several months now, us talk about the White project in Fredonia. So really, this is the last approval for the project to move forward full steam. We've helped facilitate $180,000 CDBG grant through the Office of Community Renewal for New York State. The Village of Fredonia was the applicants. And as I said, the IDA and CREDC helped facilitate that along with the Harrison Studio. So that $180,000, once you back out administrative expense, we'll be structuring it as a 50% term loan in the amount of $82,000 and a 50% deferred loan in the amount of $82,000 to assist really the operating company with startup equipment, other expenses associated with the project. Again, this is based on a conservative estimate of 12 full-time equivalent employees in year one. And these authorizing resolutions, again, item A is a grant administration agreement with the Harrison Studio. Item B is various agreements to enter into with the Village of Fredonia and the operating company. So pretty straightforward. I just wanted to add, this rounds out really the fourth grant we've been able to facilitate for this project. In total, when you add this in, we're right around $2 million of funding, which is about 45% of the $4.4 million total project cost. So again, really glad that we're able to help make this project financially feasible. And if you've driven by or seen the paper recently, they're getting started on the work. So very exciting and happy to answer any questions.
You can group those, Gary.
Okay. If we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and we can look at both of these resolutions together. So Dan, if you can move resolution A and B, I appreciate it.
Sure. Resolution A 02-28-23-06, resolution of the members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation approving entry into an agreement for community development block grant administration services. Item B, resolution 02-28-23 -07. Resolution of the members of the Chautauqua Region Economic Development Corporation approving entry into an agreement with the Village of Fredonia and agreement with the White Inn LLC.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters,
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney,
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith,
Hi.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
And both resolutions are approved. It's exciting to see the progress on the White Inn and looking that one's getting completed. Do we have a executive report?
Yeah. So I said earlier in the IDA executive report, I wanted to spend a little time talking about the partnership, and we're going to start making this a habit, giving the board ongoing updates of, new and exciting things that we're working on. I'm just going to talk for a minute and then I'm going to kick it over to Nate. Nate has been managing this effort. He has 3 staff, Monica Simpson, Christy Kathman, and Crystal Earhart. They've been really doing a great job. And, it was originally created because I think that we looked at the IDA as being more than just an entity that provides business incentives. There's way more to it. There's I think placemaking is important, what's going on in our main streets, business, workforce development, and we hear it all the time. Every business we go to, we're having a hard time finding people. Housing is important. Got to have the right type of housing here for especially young talent to live in, and infrastructure, as we see with this Ripley site. There's a lot to it, the infrastructure side of things. So in my CEO report last month, I talked about some of the numbers here, the number of organizations that we've engaged, more than 60 and 9 grant awards and 38 projects assisted, $1.5 million secured, 40 partnership meetings, 100 meetings with community stakeholders, and the list goes on. But I wanted to that will be the extent of what I talk about, Nate. If you want to, I could keep going and talk about things, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of talk about things that are on your mind.
Thank you, Mark. And again, feel free to interrupt me or provide color commentary. Again, what we'll do moving forward is we'll try to keep this oral report very brief, and instead we'll provide a written report in with the CREDC board packet each month where you get a taste of what we're working on. But again, we thought it was important just to revisit at a high level today what the partnership is and what we're doing. Mark mentioned Monica Simpson, Christy Kathman, Crystal Earhart. We're very pleased and proud to be able to add them within the last couple of years to the IDA and CREDC team. But in addition to those 3, wanted to also point out Jason Kozlowski and Rebecca Worster, who are certainly valuable contributors to several projects we're working on, as are the 3 planners from the County Department of Planning and Development who are involved, Lauren, Courtney, and Emma, and several of the projects we're working on collaboratively with the county. But again, also wanted to call out, Mark co-chairs the partnership along with Dan Hetzenrader. We thank Dan for jumping on earlier this year to take that role on. Real quickly, the other advisory board members of the partnership are made up of County Executive Wendell, Kevin Muldowney as the PED committee chairman, Greg Edwards from the Gebby Foundation, Gina Paradis from the Chautauqua County Land Bank, Andrew Nixon from the Visitors Bureau, Katie Geis from the WIB, Courtney Curatola from JCC SBDC, Vince DeJoy from the City of Dunkirk, Diane Hannum from the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation, Tori Ergang from the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, Crystal Surdick from the City of Jamestown, and Sham Baggett. So that's our advisory board made up of really equally public sector and private sector folks representing both North County, South County, countywide. And as Mark said, really representatives of the 5 focus areas we have: business development, placemaking, workforce, infrastructure, and housing. So again, I won't go through the details. Mark talked about, the highlights last month with his annual report discussion. Again, just want to make sure you are aware of the grants we were awarded. You'll see this chart in the annual report as well, but about $1.46 million in direct funding to CREDC and the partnership last year for a variety of projects, both administrative capacity, funding that's allowed us to expand our staff and, consultant services to be able to do all the projects we're working on and seek additional funding, as well as our services to facilitate funding to a variety of partners. Again, these are grant dollars going to other organizations, but that we helped catalyze, help facilitate, helped with various services to get those projects going.
And real quick, Nate, some of the highlights, obviously that West Side Sewer Extension Project, that's $6 million. The White Inn Restore New York, 1.5. The Region 9 is not moving forward with the Silver Creek project, but the state told us we could keep that $1 million in place to find another developer. P&G building on Central Avenue in Dunkirk, but you add those up, that's the 7.2 million.
And so that was, impressive total for 2022. Again, we want to share grant awards we were already successful with in 2023. Again, just shy of $500,000 in direct support to CREDC and the partnership. But again, we've already tripled last year's award number with, again, obviously the big announcement in Dunkirk a few weeks back, the DRI that we've talked about extensively, and also a second grant to the West Side Sewer Extension Project in the amount of up to $12.2 million from infrastructure funding through the BILL program.
You think about return on investment, 22 million right there on 2 projects.
And more to come. So it's only the end of February, beginning of March here. We have several irons in the fire and hope to have that number grow throughout the year. Already talked about Dunkirk. I did want to indicate CREDC invested over $65,000 over 2 years to really help develop a competitive proposal that included development of a video that was presented to the Regional Economic Development Council, consultant services for design, project conceptualization, project financial feasibility review, a wave attenuation study of the harbor that was part of the proposal, and other related services. So we
For the DRI.
For the city of Dunkirk DRI. So again, we were proud to partner with the city on that and glad to see them get the big award a few weeks back. Real briefly here, we were also awarded recently just shy of $260,000 to replenish, if you will, a program Mark started in partnership with the Chamber and SBDC, small business marketing grant program. So we'll be able to support several additional businesses with the support of the Wilson Foundation. We have recently selected a consultant for a housing market assessment and development plan that our housing work group has been working on for a year or more. So we'll be working with MRB to start that process within the next few weeks, looking at, again, countywide, what are specific housing types needed in specific geographical locations of the county, and specifically what's the toolbox look like for attracting investment at specific sites and buildings to increase our supply of housing. And this is also timely based on the governor's proposed housing compact legislation within the 23-24 state budget. We're also, as Mark mentioned earlier, going to be applying for at least one Fast New York grant, if not 2. Last year, the state created a $200 million pot of money specifically for shovel readiness. That just came out here in December, and we hope to be at the beginning of the line here in the next month or so, seeking funds for either pre-development and or infrastructure upgrades at the site Mark mentioned, but also hopefully some due diligence funding for pre-development at other sites as well. We also have a request for proposals out. Actually, proposals were just due within the last week or so. I believe we received 14 proposals for online interactive GIS-based map of all our trail and outdoor recreational amenities. You know, one-stop shopping for looking at a variety of trails, parks, kayak launches, and other related amenities to help grow, again, our outdoor recreation, active living, and tourism economy. We'll also be working with Block Club and Clever Method. Jason has been spearheading this, again, to overhaul the IDA partnership website, as well as to develop a new livechq.org presence, tying in with our talent and attraction campaign. And I'm sure some of you have seen a taste of on our social media, but much more to come once we contract with Block Club and Clever Method to advance that initiative. Again, we have secured resources for both that brand development, but also the implementation of that marketing campaign over the course of the next several years. And then finally, late last year, we partnered with Jacob Bodway and contracted with him actually as a contractual trail coordinator through CREDC. And he's facilitating really a lot of strategic work with various trail partners to identify, prioritize trail maintenance, new trail development, and the overall promotion of the collective assets we have, again, for quality of life and tourism development. So I could go on, but a lot of good work and momentum with trail development and, again, investing in that asset and bringing more people to Chautauqua County. Real quick, this is just a snapshot to keep you aware of grant applications we've recently applied for. I'm not going to be going into detail into these now, but just for your reference, happy to answer any questions. And then real quick, just wanted to mention, Rebecca and I have been teaming up with partnering to make two unique opportunities available to our municipalities, both along the lines of what we did for Dunkirk and the support we offered for DRI, really supporting other communities, especially smaller villages, hamlets with downtown revitalization planning, to better position them to take advantage of primarily New York State funding resources. A companion program to the DRI meant for smaller and more rural communities, New York Forward, as well as potentially other CFA programs that projects could go into. So we'll be selecting two communities here in the next month or so and offering more than $30,000 of consultant support to them to be able to really queue up projects in their communities, engage the public stakeholders to develop a roadmap for transforming their downtowns. A similar program specifically for complete streets improvements as well. And then again, provided in the board packet, again, just for your information, with a lot of the grant funding we've received, not only are we advancing for economic growth and IDA priorities, we're also partnering with municipalities and other partners to advance local projects. So with our county ARPA allocations, as well as our multi-year Ralph Wilson Foundation grant, we supported now several entities throughout the county, upwards of $850,000 when you look at 2023 and 2022 allocations combined. And we provided you with our work plan for 2023, as well as a listing of all those allocations to help advance really a number of projects. So in the interest of time, won't go through that list today, but you have it for reference, and always happy to answer any questions. So I know that was quick and high level, but we wanted to cover this again this month, and again, want to provide more updates on an ongoing basis since we have really so many irons in the fire these days. And I'll stop there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other thing. If you think about these municipalities that, might have a part-time mayor and a clerk, and they really don't have the technical wherewithal to chase after any resources, any grant funding, any, and it's sort of like they don't know, in a lot of cases, they don't even know where to start. And so that's really what we're providing here. We've got 5 consultants that are on retainer with us. So we're able to sort of queue up projects and then have our consultants help us sort of help the community to envision what it could be and what funding they should be going after and help them put the grant applications together and manage the grants. And so that's really a big deal for these smaller communities.
Thank you, Nate. Certainly impressive, all the different grants that we're working on and all that, we've been able to get last year, but already this year. And so, we read about them in the paper, but sometimes we forget all the work that goes into it by the whole team to get those put together. Do we have any old business to come before the board? If not, we'll consider the meeting adjourned and we'll move right into the Chautauqua County Capital Resource Corporation Board of Directors meeting, again at BWB Building 201 West 3rd Street, electronically via live stream, YouTube and Zoom, and it's currently 11:40. We'll take roll call. Gary Henry's here, Brad Walters, Rhonda Johnson,
Here.
Stephen Thorpe,
Here.
Kevin Muldowney, here, Sagan Sheffield Smith,
Here.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Here.
You should have already received the minutes from the December 27th meeting. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you. A second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? So the minutes are accepted. And I know Chris has been waiting. The wings just chomping at the bit for his opportunity. So finally, we'll turn it over to Chris and he can tell us about this bond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. So this relates to the Lutheran Housing Administrative Services bond that was issued in 2017. This bond was a new money bond to help with rehabilitation of an existing facility and the construction of an additional building for an assisted living facility. So this bond matters before you because the bond is currently in an index rate that is based on LIBOR, which is the London Interbank Offered Rate. I'm going to get a little technical here, but I just want to give you the big picture. So LIBOR is a rate that has been used for decades in securities, loans, all around the world. And LIBOR is set to cease existing on June 30th of this year. So the industry has been scrambling to come up with a new rate to replace the LIBOR rate in its documentation. So what has been arrived at is this concept of a secured overnight financing rate, which is the acronym SOFR. So what we need to do, and I'm doing 12 of these, actually 13, I got a new one in today. Existing bond documents that have LIBOR, the underlying documents have to be modified, amended to take LIBOR out and to put in this new SOFR concept. So there's some amendments to be made to the bond documents, to the bond itself. There's an opinion I need to provide as bond counsel saying that these modifications won't affect the tax exempt interest on the bond itself. So we've got a pretty well-oiled machine. As you can see on Exhibit A to the resolution before you, we requested a request letter from Lutheran Housing, specifically asking the CRC to make these modifications. So we have that in our pocket. There's full evidence that they need us to do this. So this document, this resolution before you would approve the CRC entering into these modifications. In the off chance that these modifications result in a reissuance of the bonds, which we don't think it will, it authorizes the CRC to enter into those documents that would need to be authorized by all the parties in connection with that reissuance. So happy to answer any questions. Again, we're doing quite a few of these, and I assume in May and June, I'll be doing too many of these because everyone will be scrambling to get this over with LIBOR, but that's the 30,000 foot. Happy to answer any questions folks might have.
Thanks, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just administrative. Yeah.
Brad, would you go ahead and move new business A1 for us?
Resolution 022823-08, approving resolution modifications relating to Lutheran Housing Administrative Services Group, DBA Lutheran Senior Housing, Series 2017 bond.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Roll call vote. Gary Henry votes aye. Brad Walters.
Aye.
Rhonda Johnson.
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe.
Aye.
Kevin Muldowney.
Aye.
Sagan Sheffield Smith.
Aye.
Dan Hetzenrader.
Aye.
Thank you. And with that, we'll consider our meetings adjourned.
See you tomorrow,
Thanks very
Chris.
much. Just one thing, Mr. Chair, you should have some documents in front of you to be signed and notarized. The
I've
bank.
got
and
piles, piles.
I bet.
I hope they got lunch for me.
Yeah.
It'll take hours.
A small portion of those are mine, so the
Okay.
bank and.
Got a lot
Lutheran
of
will-
donuts there for them.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
very
Thank
much,
you.
folks. Take care.
See you tomorrow, Mark.